we'll make a start. If you can allow your body to settle, come into a comfortable seated position and closing the arms. Can you hear me? It's a ridiculous question, obviously, because how would you say no if you can't? But the words are clear and yeah. Begin, we'll chant the mantra Om 3 times together. Breathing in. Ready, closing your eyes. Obviously we're working with a meditation session this morning, but it's pretty chilly, so the first thing I'm going to do is move you. Come up into a standing position. We'll just do some quick movements just to get the blood moving around and warm you up so that you can sit down for the rest of our practice. Most of you will have, again, if you can't hear me, just start waving hands and then I can make it a bit clear. Was that a wave?
No, I was just going to stretch, just
okay,
as you
good,
said.
good.
So waving your hands. Put down.
The first thing, we're going to do a couple of movements out of the cross-crawl sequence. So many of you will know this, many of you will dislike it intently, but it's very good for warming us up. First thing you're going to do is you're going to walk on the spot. But when you're walking on the spot, I'm going to ask you to move from here, from your hips, rather than just lift your heels up to your buttocks. That's this kind of movement. Big movement out of the hips. Your lower leg is relaxed, so the foot, again, isn't coming up towards your buttocks. Base of the spine to the crown of the head, really still and upright. The opposite hand is coming onto the opposite thigh. And then when you're ready, start bringing the arms up out of the shoulders. Don't need to touch the thigh anymore. Big opening motion. I'm going to get a little bit faster, and I'm going to stop. Try and feel that sense of being still from the base of the spine all the way to the crown of the head. Get faster. You might need to work with the other opposites. Faster still. Faster. Imagine if something really depended on this. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. And then gently slow down. And next one we're going to do is very difficult for me to describe. I really have to show you this one. You're going to start with a simple rotation of your arms around the level of your waist, but that means that you want your chest and your pelvis facing forward. It's this movement, you don't want the body coming with you, so it doesn't turn into a rotation in the torso, it's just the arms coming around the front of the body like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to flick your heel up, the opposite heel towards the opposite hand behind the back of your body. It doesn't have to touch, but it heads in that general direction like this. The opposite heel is heading in that direction, doesn't have to touch, so you're not leaning or twisting or bending, you're nice and upright, nice and tall. And then the arms can come up from the shoulders, opposite hand comes down towards opposite heel again. And don't beat yourselves up if this is a bit tricky, because that's a good thing, which means you're stretching that sense of coordination, you're opening into stuff you're not necessarily comfortable with. One foot to the front, one to the back. Both to the front. And the other one to the front, the other one to the back. Okay. Both to the back again. Arms back down around the level of your waist. And just standing with the eyes closed just for a moment or two. As the breathing and the heart rate return to normal, you can be a bit more forceful on the exhalation out through your nose if you wish. Into a comfortable seated position. You're more than welcome to put jumpers on, socks on, anything you need just to keep yourself warm. And the first thing I need to say is, did any of you attempt to come to this session on Friday? I do apologise, there was slight confusion. I didn't turn up. There was slight confusion. I didn't know. We turned up Thursday and I was having breakfast and read through the programme on Friday morning and I thought, oh my God, I was supposed to teach 3 hours ago. And, so I do apologise and I'm glad you've come along this time. Here we go. I'm not going to go into too much detail about who I am because you've all got the programme and it's all in there. Most of it's true. I come from a place called Mandala Yoga Ashram in southwest Wales. Hands up anyone who's been. Only 3. And you really all need to come at some point. This morning's session is a meditation based practice. We're going to look at a practice I've named it Befriending the Mind, and the essence of the practice is a process of giving us the possibility of allowing, not trying to fight or not trying to control or restrict anything that's happening, just giving it room to move, as it were. That can sound potentially contradictory to something like Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra, where you're working through concentration to focus the energies of the mind. However, for most of us, I'll own this, I'll speak for myself, most of us have got relatively complicated minds in this day and age. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of stimulation, a lot of input coming into us mentally, so there's lots of activity. And we could probably, the potential is you could wait a long time in your life to find yourself with a completely crystal clear mind with no activity. And we could end up waiting for something that may not arrive in our life, but the possibility of coming to, or peace breaking out, as it were, or coming to a very still place while the mind is still active, it is a possibility. We just become more friendly, we come to terms with what's happening rather than what we prefer to be happening, or a place where we would expect our mind to be. I'm sure many of you have heard of an author called Jack Cornfield, and he wrote a book called A Path with Heart, and it's a superb book about meditation practice. And I remember buying it in my 20s, and some of the later chapters are about big spiritual experiences and some of the understanding that can come. So I skipped all of the stuff at the front and went straight to the exciting stuff. It was only years later when I look back at chapter 2, I think it is, which is called Stopping the War. And that makes a lot more sense now as I've grown slightly wiser as I've got older, only slightly. And he talks about this process of making peace with ourselves as we are, becoming our friend, becoming a friend with our mind, our body, our emotions, so that we're not in conflict with ourselves, because we waste so much energy. Or if that split, if that conflict is within us, we're not going to be at peace with ourselves, and we're not. We all know this. It comes out into our day-to-day life. It comes out if that relationship with ourself is conflicted, and if it's difficult, you can guarantee that your relationships with the outside world are going to be the same. It's like night will follow day. If we're not, hopefully some of you will leave this, not necessarily this session, but you will leave this festival feeling very peaceful, very relaxed and very open. So when you get out onto the road, you might find, you'll be thinking, wow, people are being really courteous, or everyone's driving really nicely, and everyone feels really calm. And I've got a feeling that it's not the world that's been waiting for you to leave, and they've all contacted each other and thought, well, such and such is leaving this festival. We better really calm down so that we don't ruin their sort of like peaceful place. It's you that's changed. It's your state of mind, it's your state of being that's changed. And you'll feel that. The world will be different. If we wake up conflicted, if we wake up in the morning and there's this internal dynamic going on within us, surprisingly enough, sometimes the world's the same. It's just reflecting out. It's just coming from this the place that we're at. The best thing we can do is practice rather than just me talking about this, because talking is all well and good, but it's not going to have that effect. You've got to experience it in yourself. So we'll run through the practice and we'll see how we go. So take any opportunity, or take this opportunity to make any adjustments you need to be comfortable. Stretch the body, move the body, change your position. Seated postures they're designed to allow us to turn our attention elsewhere, so we can internalise, but they're not designed as a sort of form of purgatory or torture. So do whatever you need to do to be comfortable. You can even lie down if you promise not to snore. We've got chairs over here as well. If anyone wants to use them, you're most welcome. If you do lie down, sleeping's not the issue, it's snoring that becomes the problem. If you lie down and you think you might nod off, rest with your elbows in contact with the floor, but your hands up towards the ceiling. And that movement of your hands will bring you back.
Over your ears.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's going to keep my mind more peaceful if I just leave that to one side. So if you sit quietly, closing the eyes. Just for a few moments, allowing yourself to be very much aware of the contact you can feel through the base of the body with the floor. You're aware of the contact that can be felt where different parts of the base of the body may be touching each other. aware of the contact of the touch that you can feel through your hands. For just a few moments, allow yourself to be very much in your hands. That touch, that contact you can feel through the skin, where the skin is in contact with the different layers of your clothing. And that finest contact, where the skin is exposed to the air around it. All of these different forms of contact or touch at the same time, allowing you to feel, to experience the outline of the physical form. As you become more and more aware of the outline of the body, you're aware of all of the sensations that are arising here. These aren't things that you need to make happen, it's all happening. Just become a little bit more present with it. As well as the sensations that are arising at the surface. You now allow yourself to be aware, to be conscious of all of the physical sensations arising within the body. Maybe experiences that are comfortable, others might not be so comfortable. Just be aware that this is the case. The awareness, this sense of self, it's almost as though it settles more and more into the physical experience. Allow yourself to feel, or allow yourself to acknowledge that for this practice, for this morning, the only thing that you need to let go of, if anything, is this notion or any need to control. Any attempt to try and control, to limit, to change the physical experience. You can use the imagery of a tightly curled fist. Allow yourself to see, to feel that fist gently opening, softening. Yourself to settle more and more into the whole spectrum, the full range of the physical experience as it's arising right now. the awareness, move the attention from the physical. Now come to the mental experience. Allow your awareness to settle into the space behind the closed eyes, behind the forehead. And here, allow yourself to become more conscious, that notion of settling into the mental experience. If you wish, you can even bring a subject or a matter to mind that you know you've been thinking about recently, you know has been on your mind, and just allow it to move. Give it permission to happen and to flow once more. Just becoming more conscious of thoughts, memories, mental images, any inner dialogue that may be moving this morning. And once again, using that imagery of that unfolding fist, that opening hand, feeling that if there's anything that needs to be let go of this morning, it's just the need to control or to hold on or to try and limit. It's as though you're giving the energy of mind, that mental energy, the space to move and to express as it needs to. The aspects of the mental experience that aren't so comfortable, that aren't so easy. If you can, feel as though the awareness, your sense of presence, is soft enough, it's big enough this morning, just to allow this energy to move in its full spectrum, the full range of possibility. Few moments for this practice. No thoughts, no mental activity is felt or seen as an enemy. They're all guests coming and going. Turn the attention now to the energy of emotion and feeling. Bring the awareness down into the space of the heart. but also include the space of the abdomen, feeling these two areas as though one space. Include the space of the abdomen to allow for emotion and feeling that's maybe a bit stickier, stuff that may have been pushed down, not acknowledged. As you allow yourself to feel as though you're settling into the experience of emotion and feeling, once again, using that imagery of the unfolding, the opening fist, there's that sense of possibility of being able to let go any sense of needing to control, to hold on to, or to hold back, to limit the emotional experience. So you're giving the energy of emotion the freedom to move, the freedom to arise and to express as it needs to. This may not be easy or comfortable. See if your awareness is open enough and soft enough this morning to allow the discomfort. To allow the fact that it may not be easy. Becoming more and more conscious, more and more present with this full spectrum, this full possibility of the sensations of emotion and feeling. Remaining aware of emotion and feeling, allow the sensation or the experience of thought, of mental activity to come back into your awareness. Allowing yourself to be conscious once more of physical experience, physical sensation. So allow yourself to be aware of all of the sounds that you can hear around you. next few moments, allow yourself to feel that neither one of these experiences, these movements in energy that you are conscious of, is any more or less important than another. Sounds that you can hear outside, physical sensations, thoughts, emotion and feeling. All different experiences, different sensations. You're not defined by these experiences. You are conscious of them. You are aware of them. Few moments. Experience yourself as the conscious space in which all of these different phenomena are arising, are experienced. We're going to chant the mantra Om 3 times together. Allow yourself to feel the sound, the vibration of the mantra filling the whole of the inner space, so that every aspect of you is touched by the mantra. Nothing is excluded. As you are right now, physically, mentally and emotionally, everything is allowed and touched by the mantra. Nothing gets excluded or rejected. I'll chant 3 times together, breathing in. can open your eyes and we'll do another little practice before we close, but I can't keep you sitting or lying for too much longer. I'm cold up here, so I don't know about the rest of you. So I think we'll get up and have a little move again. We'll just move things around, but we'll take a few moments before we do so. So the essence of that practice is that, as we were talking about earlier, is that possibility of allowing everything that needs to arise to move. So that we're not focused on some idealised version of who we should be or how the mind should be. Or I shouldn't be having these emotions. It's all of this, that process of splitting and dividing or rejecting what actually is can take quite a lot of energy, and it creates that sense of division within us. These practices offer that opportunity of coming to that level of acceptance as we are, actually becoming friends with ourselves as we are, not as how we think we ought to be or how we would prefer to be, because that's just a fiction. That's somewhere else, potentially down the line in time or a different space, whereas we become much more present with ourselves as we currently are. It's not easy, it can be quite uncomfortable, because it allows things to move and come to the surface that we may have kept out of the light for some time, and for good reason, but it's an important part of the process. What it means to be whole and healing comes from the same root, doesn't it? The words mean the same thing. It's becoming whole, it's containing the whole of ourselves. So let's get up, let's move a little bit before we come back down. Lucky it's not November. God knows what we'll have to wear then. So we'll do another one from the cross crawl sequence. We'll work into the hips and it comes into the upper body as well. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to lift in the same way that you did when you did walking on the spot. You're going to lift your thigh up to parallel to the floor, and then that's on your inhalation, and on your exhalation you're going to open it out to the side and then just bring it back down. It's this kind of movement. But be mindful that when you move, pelvis stays forward. So it's only in the hip joint, so you're not rotating basically on your standing leg. Just opening the hip as far as it will move this morning. Then when you're ready, bring the opposite arm up at the same time. They both come up in front of the body to begin with. Have a right angle at your elbow and try and feel that there's a right angle between your upper leg and lower leg. And when you come up, one arm, opposite arm, opposite leg, and they both go out to the side like two doors opening up. Your right arm and your left leg comes down, I'll do it for now. Next thing I'm going to ask you to do is use your voices. This can warm things up a little bit. We're going to find a position for your feet where you can come into a relatively comfortable squat. So you maybe want to put a bit more width between your feet. What I'm going to ask you to do is when you come down, use the strength in your buttocks and your thighs. You're going to bring yourself down into a decent squat. Put your hands onto the tops of your thighs so that your gaze is still relatively forward. You don't want to come down into a big forward bend. Don't try and keep your body upright either, because that's just uncomfortable. It's this kind of movement, using that strength down here. So find that position. When you come into a squat, let the knees follow the lines of your toes. You don't have to come down too far. You don't have to come all the way down, so that your knees and your toes start to lose alignment. Good comfortable position. And then what we're going to do, we're going to make some sounds when we come down into our squat. We're going to make the R sound. And you're going to, so when you make a sound, I don't know what the term is for this, but try and feel that you make that shape with your mouth. So you haven't just got a little opening, just a little bit of sound coming out. Open it, really let it go. I'm the only idiot that's going to be on film doing this, so you guys have got nothing to worry about. You can just carry on as you are. But really make that shape with your mouth, and let it move and let it come from right down in the bottom of your belly, as far down as you can. And you let that sound move for the duration of your breath. I'll demonstrate this once, I'll show you, and then you can join in. Okay, so it's roughly this kind of thing that we're going to be looking for. Take a couple of deep breaths before, but just let me do this one, and then we'll do it together. So on until the end of your breath. Let it go all the way to the end. A really nice even sound. Make that shape, that space with your mouth. Let it move right down here. We'll go in together. And what we'll do is we'll do 4 rounds. So we go in together on the first one, and then you just work with the rhythm of your breath. So it does mean one of you will go first on the second round. So you just have to deal with that as best you can. But we'll start the first one together. So a couple of deep breaths. And the next exhalation. Bending the knees down into the squat, allow the R sound to move. Three more in your own time. And bring yourself back down into a seated position. Obviously that's got nothing to do with yoga, it just makes me laugh watching people doing it. When we bring sound, well, especially the voice, into practice, especially combined with physical movement, it brings another level of energy into that. And if you can imagine, when you're working down into the abdomen, there's lots going on in the abdomen. It's a storehouse for all sorts of things, especially with emotion, anything that's been repressed or pushed down. We can then move into using different sounds into this space and into this space as well. And in yoga, these 3 spaces they're very important. In this area, the abdomen is called the Surya Akash. Surya meaning sun, solar. We all know this because of Manipur. If you work with the Chinese systems, this is the seat of Hara, that fire. That's where solar plexus comes from. Up into here, this is Hridaya Akash, so this is heart. that heart space, into here, Chittakash, so the space where we're aware of mental activity, that kind of thing. These spaces are they're very valuable to work with, and sound really accentuates what we're doing there. We're just going to sit for a few more minutes together. You're going to offer yourselves the gift of a short metta practice for this morning. Metta is a Buddhist practice, meaning, or roughly translated into loving kindness. But I'll run through the words that you'll use. Allow yourself to settle. Feel as though your awareness, that notion of self, can be a little bit more at rest, a little bit more centered in the heart space. See if you can allow yourself to encounter the heart space as it is this morning. And from the heart, you're going to offer yourself the practice of metta. You're going to repeat the following lines internally. I'll say these words a few times and then I'll stop and you carry on. If you forget a line or if you forget two lines, it doesn't matter. Just carry on with what you remember, offering the practice to yourself as you are right now. Repeating internally, repeating in the heart space. May I be full of loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be full of loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be full of loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be full of loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful and at ease. If at any time you encounter any resistance to this, if you feel that you may not deserve this or that you should be doing this for others and not for yourself, acknowledge that. Accept that that has arisen and maybe offer the practice to that part of yourself as well. Just keep offering yourself the practice. Practice to yourself as you are, to all of you. gently release the words of the practice. As best you can, just allowing yourself to be at rest with the heart as it is right now. And we're going to chant the mantra Om 3 times together to close. Before you do so, remembering that the mantra Om is a symbol. And the very fact that you are right now, the very fact of your being right now, is what the mantra Om is trying to symbolize. You are the living embodiment of what this symbol is trying to point towards. We'll chant the mantra Om 3 times together. Breathing in. Ready? Come open your eyes and let it go. If anyone's got any questions about what we've done, the purpose behind some of the practices, or if you just want to pop over anyway, do come over and see us. We've got a little stand just over there, the Mandala Yoga Ashram stand. It's the one in the middle, so do come over and say hello. You'll find out a little bit more about us and what we do and what happens there. But also, if you just want to talk about anything that we've covered this morning, any of the practices and what was involved. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.